The folklore in Kid Cryptid wouldn't exist if it weren't for the rich history and vibrant cultures these stories come from. While we do our best to provide accurate information, we recognize that we are, at best, amateurs here. This podcast is best considered for entertainment purposes only, and it comes from a place of love and respect for the peoples behind the lore. Now, on with the show. I'm Shawn, and it's time once again for Campfire Compendium, which is a spin-off of Kid Cryptid, where I take a brief look at urban legends and unsolved mysteries. Today, I'll be talking about the latter. In late January of 1959, a group of 10 Soviet students set out on a 16-day, 190-mile hiking expedition to reach the summit of Mount Ortorton. The group, led by Igor Dyatlov, were all experienced snow hikers and climbers, and successfully completing the trip would have earned them the highest available certification for ski tours at the time. Unfortunately, there are times that no amount of planning and experience are enough. Embarking on January 27th, the journey was barely underway when one member of the team fell ill and returned to town. The remaining 9 wished him well and continued on uneventfully. Things were difficult, of course. Hiking through the snow-covered mountains in Russia is far from a walk in the park, but it wasn't anything the group couldn't handle. That changed on February 1st. Having cached some supplies the day before, they set off into a wooded valley. It was here that they encountered severe snowstorms and even lower temperatures. They did their best to push through the weather, but as they did so, they began to veer off their planned route. Instead of heading towards Ortorton, they wound up at the base of a different mountain called Kholat-Syakhl, or Dead Mountain. With nightfall approaching, the team decided to make camp on the mountain slope rather than the nearby tree line. The reasoning for this can only be speculated, but it does seem odd that such an experienced team would opt to set up in such a place when better options were available. In any case, what happened after that remains unsolved. Before they left on their trip, Dyatlov had told other members of his sports club that he would send a telegram when he and his team returned from their trip. The expected date came and went, and another week passed and still no one had heard a thing from Dyatlov or the others. A rescue team made up of fellow students and teachers hastily assembled and headed to the mountains to search for their missing friends. Their findings resulted in a full-on military investigation. On February 26th, the rescue team found the group's campsite. The abandoned tent was absolutely wrecked, and it appeared to have been cut open from the inside. Clothes, coats, and boots still lay on the floor. Tracks around the campsite showed that several of the hikers had fled barefoot or in socks. Wherever they had gone, they had done so in a hurry. Rescuers followed the tracks for nearly a mile before coming to the edge of the forest. It was there that they found the remains of a fire and the bodies of 2 of the hikers. They were barefoot and wore nothing but their underwear. A nearby tree showed signs that someone, possibly one of the dead, had attempted to climb the tree at some point. Between the tree line and the camp, rescuers found 3 more bodies. They each lay several hundred feet apart, and from what the team could tell, it appeared they had all frozen to death trying to get back to the campsite. The remaining 4 bodies wouldn't be found until May 4th. Some 250 feet away from the trees, they had fallen down a ravine. 2 of them suffered severe wounds that crushed their chests, and another's skull had been severely cracked. Her tongue, lips, and eyes were also missing. Now the strange thing, however, was that none of the fatal injuries showed any external signs of damage, yet the resulting damage was on par with the kind that happens in car wrecks. So what happened? That's the million-dollar question. Some have suggested that the team got disoriented and confused by wind noises, and maybe thought that an avalanche was coming down on them. That would explain why such an experienced group would flee their camp in such an unprepared state. But it doesn't explain the injuries suffered by 3 of them. Another theory suggests that hypothermia had set in, and they were acting out of delirium, and that maybe a fight broke out somewhere in there, resulting in the deaths in the ravine. However, Even if they were delirious, the wounds inflicted were beyond anything a human could do, and there were no external signs of a fight. Because of the mysterious circumstances, there are some who are positive that they were attacked by a Yeti. Now, to complicate matters more, radiation was also found on the clothing of several bodies. This, of course, has led to all manner of conspiracy theories that the Soviet government was involved. Witnesses some 50 kilometers away reported seeing orange glowing orbs in the direction of where the team was, and they're positive that that had something to do with it. Fittingly, in February 2019, the Russian government reopened the case into what has become known as Dyatlov Pass. Will the benefit of modern forensics finally help unravel this mystery? Or has the passage of time erased the chance to figure out what happened that deadly night? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And that brings us to the end of this week's episode. Until next time.